I've got one of our job creators friends coming up, Erica Donald. Let's go to let's go to Erica now. Erica Donald, you're on the John Fredericks Radio Network. Thanks for being with us, Erica.
Hi, John. Thanks for having me.
I tell you what, you're an entrepreneur. Tell us a little about Erica. Tell us a little bit about your company.
Well, I run a couple different companies, actually. I run a foundation called the Optima Foundation, which helps local charter public schools with their back office, with their finance, their compliance, helping them on the business side of things so that they can meet students' needs and educate kids. One of my passions is education, and as a CPA and someone with a finance and compliance background, I started that foundation, which is a nonprofit, but operates like a business and employs plenty of people here to help in the education industry. And then I also have another company called Onesto LLC, which is a consulting firm that I help people with their compliance and finance needs, some business strategy consulting and things like that to help people to grow their businesses.
So, Erica, you're basically in the service consulting industry. That's how you would define your companies.
That's right.
How did the Trump tax cuts impact your company and your growth?
Well, just like many small businesses across the country, it's been incredibly helpful, especially to our employees and their ability to save as a result of these tax cuts and realize the benefit of those tax cuts. Having more money in their paychecks throughout the year is certainly an incentive for employees and our ability to be able to hire and incentivize them. So we were very excited about the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that Trump pushed through and the pro-growth policy agenda that he's also led on, which is helping to reduce regulations for businesses like ours so that we can save money as a business and as a result pay our people more because they are our best asset.
So give me some specific examples, if you would, because we always like to get, it's one thing to give the big policy, overall, here's what's happening. But how has it affected your company? How has the Trump tax cuts, Erica, affected your own company? Like, what have you done differently as a result of the new code?
Well, I think the most specific that I could give really is just the individuals within my company and their ability to save funds on taxes. And I know that my employees who are middle income, some single moms, some people who are raising a family, realizing that savings on a bi-weekly basis in their paychecks makes a huge difference for them and their motivation. Some of them may not have supported Trump in the election, but they are seeing the benefit of his policies and kind of turning their attention now to the fact that these policies do benefit them as employees and as citizens.
We're with Erica Donald. And Erica, tell us you've got many companies, but the one company that would be your biggest, what is it again?
The Optima Foundation is one, and the Onesto LLC is another. All
right, the Optima Foundation CEO, we're going to go with that. And I want all of our listeners to go to taxcutswork.com, taxcutswork.com, because this site was created by the Job Creators Network, and along with the calculator, there's also a petition there that you want to sign that will tell Nancy Pelosi you don't want her to change her tax cut. Go to taxcutswork.com. The other thing you're going to be able to do there, and this is very important, is to get a comparison of what your taxes would have been and what they are now under the old system and the new. Because, Erica Donald, one of the things that you mentioned is what the mainstream media has lied about. They're saying, well, your refunds are not as big as they were. Therefore, like we said, the tax cut only benefited the 1% wealthy and big rich corporations, where in reality of it is less money, like you were just saying, Eric, was taken out of your check the entire time, which enabled people to save more of their own money. But that means you don't get as big as a refund, even though your tax bite was less, right?
That's absolutely right. And as a CPA, it's always bothered me when people celebrate a big tax return at the end of the year, because I'm telling them you are letting the government borrow your money for free when you should have that money and be putting it to work in your own life and in our economy. And I think this is really driving home that message for people that you should not allow the government to borrow your money for free. That money should be in your paychecks every month or every couple of weeks, and you should be able to spend that money to help yourself, your family, and the economy in your local state or city. We absolutely should not have these huge tax refunds as a result of people allowing the government to take too much out of their paychecks.
We're with Erica Donald. She is the CEO of the Optima Foundation. Erica, what would be your advice to people that are thinking about starting a business now? You know, I was at a meeting at the White House on Thursday, and Ivanka Trump told me that we have had the largest increase in businesses started basically since it's been recorded in 2018. And she said 50% of those businesses have been started by women, and 60% of the women that started new businesses are Hispanic and African American. If there's a woman out there today thinking about taking a bite at the apple, or as the president said, swinging the bat at a pitch and opening up a company of some kind, having done it yourself and gone through this, what would be your advice?
Well, my advice would be to take the risk. It is a good time to start a business. We are in a pro-growth environment. We are in an anti-regulatory burden environment under the Trump administration. And so now is the time to go ahead and take that risk and start that business. I remember doing it myself several years ago while I still had a salaried job and tried to do both at the same time and working seemingly 24 hours a day to get that business started. But now, as you said, it is such a great environment for women to be able to start these businesses. So many women are doing it. You're surrounded by other successful women that you can look to. There's so much information available now online for help in order to get that business started and which direction to go. And we're going to continue to see these pro-growth policies move through and these lower taxes. And really, we need more women entrepreneurs to stand with us against things like a $15 minimum wage and overexcited Fed that are going to hinder our economic growth in this country. So absolutely, I would encourage these women to become entrepreneurs, even if it's just taking that first step and take that risk and step out. It's definitely the best thing that I've ever done.
And what would be, when somebody is evaluating a business plan, what would be your number one piece of advice?
Be realistic. You have to be realistic. I mean, you want to have those stretch goals of where you want to go, but at the same time, you need to have that realistic goal that you know you can reach next week, next month, next year, and you just take each one of those goals and break them down into tasks and start with task number 1 and do it, check it off the list, go to task number 2, plan it out. That's the great thing that you just said. When you're looking at a business plan, that's the way to start a business. It starts with a plan and then executing on that plan.
Erica, for young entrepreneurs that want to start a business, tell us about your vision of debt. Like, how much debt should they take on? How do you assess your debt risk? If you want to open a business, sometimes, you just can't do it with $100, right? You have to borrow money, maybe go to the SBA. What would your advice be there?
Well, you do have to borrow money, but you also have to have skin in the game. And so I would encourage people to save and save and save and save and save as much as you possibly can over the next year, over the next 6 months. Go without cable, go without cell phone data if you have to, go without whatever you can live without so you can save up money. Because when you do go to SBA, when you do go to lenders or maybe even an angel investor and you say, I only make this much, but I've saved this much, that is going to buy you equity and buy you credibility with those people who are going to lend you money. And if they're lending you money, they're going to help you to be successful, looking at your business plan and helping you along. So it's really proportionate to how much you can save and put skin in the game. And that's what you're going to hear when you go to get those loans from wherever you go. How much skin in the game do you have? And that's going to be proportionate to what others are going to be able to help with.
Great advice, Erica. And you would agree with me that there was ever a time, like the president is saying, to open up your own business or your dream of having your own business, being an entrepreneur. Now's the time because of the regulatory environment, the president's policies cutting so much red tape out, being able to start and then run a business, and then also lower taxes. I mean, lower taxes means you simply don't have to pay as much money. The other big thing, Erica, that everybody, and it doesn't necessarily affect your consulting business, but for radio stations like me and other people, is the fact that the Trump tax cut for small businesses allowed 100% of capital investment deduction in the same accounting here that the buy was made. I mean, that has gone under the radar screen, but for a small business, I'm telling you, that's huge.
That is tremendous. And there are so many stories like that I've heard from other businesses, many of my clients as well, of huge savings like that mean a lot to that business. And you're right. When you talk about it in general, it's easy to say, oh, well, yeah, you can deduct everything in 1 year. But when you say this radio station was able to deduct $100,000, and that equated to this much money that we were able to put into the paychecks of this many Americans, that's when it really it becomes real to people. And I'm sure that your listeners that do own small businesses can go to their accountants, can go to their books and see that savings for themselves. And I would ask them to help spread the word, let other people know how beneficial that these tax cuts have been to the American economy.
Boy, but I have to say, Erica, you have absolutely nailed it. I mean, these tax cuts have meant so much to the economy and the small business owners and to just workers, because they get more money in their pocket. I want everybody to go to taxcutswork.com. That's taxcutswork.com. You can do the analysis there, see what the difference is, see how much money you were able to save from 2018 to 2019. By the way, if you live in Virginia, they did a new tax bill starting in 2019 earnings. They've aligned the federal and the state tax code, but in 18 they couldn't do that. They didn't have enough time. So if you're a double filer filing with your significant other, you're going to get a check for $220, regardless of what your income is in October. And if you're a single filer like Kiara, our executive producer, you're going to get $110 back in Virginia. I'm out of time. I want to thank Erica Donald for being with us from Optima Foundation, CEO there. Erica, thank you for that insight.
Thanks so much for having me, John.